I'm assuming that the offensiveness of BO is a fairly recent social development because, as far as I can see, up until, well, probably the late 1970s, everybody had BO. They must have done. I did something quite interesting recently. I was making a documentary about the history of cars, and I had to drive some 70s small family cars in Italy in July in very strong sunshine. And of course, those old cars, they didn't have air conditioning, they didn't have sun-dimmed glass, they had vinyl seats, and people back then would have worn nylon underpants. And honestly, within 10 minutes of being in this car on a sunny day in Italy, which is often sunny, I was just dripping with sweat. So everybody in the 70s must have had BO. Or they would have used a great deal of the sort of aerosol CFC-laden deodorants that we had at the time, which all smelled terrible anyway, because they smelled of, I don't know, Arctic forest or something like that. So I'm guessing that finding sweaty people offensive is a sensitivity we've developed quite recently. Otherwise, humankind would have been so offended by itself it would never have reproduced. And let's be honest, this is going to sound a bit pervy, I suppose, but fresh sweat is not an offensive smell. It can actually be quite exciting without going into too many details. It's old sweat, and I think old sweat that is soaked into clothing that then gets stuffed in the bottom of a suitcase for a couple of days before you put it on again. That's what smells horrible. That sort of mouldy biscuit, slightly sort of damp dog smell that you get from overused clothing. That's unpleasant. But fresh sweat is... You get some very expensive French white wines that smell of fresh sweat, and they're exciting to drink.
Have you ever had a work colleague or a teacher with a bad BO problem?
Now, work colleagues with bad BO, I'm going to be very careful what I say here, I suppose, but many years ago I did work briefly in an office where there was a bloke who he smelled terrible. He smelled of a neglected French cheese, one of those really interesting ones you get from the market. And it is still a difficult subject to broach, except with somebody you know very well, or someone you're married to or live with or whatever. You can say, your pits really stink. But it's very difficult to do that on the tube or the bus or you know, with a shop assistant or whatever. It's... There's a train going past now. It's a London tube train, so it's probably got upwards of 1,000 people on it. This is the morning, so it's, 10 o'clock, still be quite busy. A goodly proportion of the people on that train will be a bit whiffy in one way or another, becoming more whiffy as they go along because the tube gets a bit hot and stuffy. But you can't... It is very difficult to turn to somebody you don't know and say, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you smell like a Russian shot putter's box. I don't know why we always say Russian shot putter there. I mean, why wouldn't it be a Scottish shot putter or a Welsh or English shot putter? It's just that the Russian shot putters are always very large people, I suppose. What do you do? What do you do? There must be a technique for this. I hope you don't mind me saying, well, obviously they are going to mind you saying, that you smell really terrible. No one's going to take that as a compliment. And maybe I smell really terrible and everyone in here is just being too polite. You can tell me now, since we've done this, do I smell terrible?
No, you're fine.
You sure?
Possible.
I'm not aware that any of you, I'm not very close to any of you, but I don't think any of you stink. I use deodorant, but I do often feel when I'm putting it on, especially those ball type, I think, well, this isn't really natural, and it does feel like it's blocking you up. And we know, for example, in Goldfinger, in the James Bond film, when the woman is painted with the gold paint as a way of murdering her, when they did that for real, they had to leave a large patch on her back, unpainted, so that her skin could still breathe. Because actually, if you completely painted yourself so your skin was sealed off, it would kill you, because you wouldn't be able to perspire at all, and you'd overheat, and your skin chemistry would become corrupted, and it would kill you quite quickly. So don't cover yourself in gold paint, or if you do, leave a patch for safety. Now pubs don't have smoke in them anymore. They do smell of sort of dead beer, fart, sweat, piss, all that sort of stuff. And I liked it when it smelled a bit smoky and sort of Neanderthal. I think I've got a fairly sensitive nose. Oz Clarke always says I do, and he knows about that sort of thing. So I can pick out, different fruits and spices put in jars when I've got a blindfold on, and I can identify, I often say, oh, something's getting too hot, it's burning, before other people who are standing near me smell it. So I think my nose is quite good. It's compensating for my appalling eyesight and terrible teeth. But I don't, I've never remembered a particular country or region as one that stinks. I've never said to somebody, oh, don't go to Germany, it's really smelly, because it isn't. Sometimes it smells of baking. They do a lot of baking in Germany, but apart from that, no. What does England smell of?
Sweat.
Does it smell of sweat?
Roses.
Roses.
It's 20 pubs.
It smells of bowler hats and cricket. It smells of, What do you put on a cricket bat?
Linseed oil.
Linseed rather, not aniseed. Aniseed is what you put in the curry. Yeah, England smells of linseed oil, roses, and the Queen.